beginnings, to raising the future, achieving success along the way. We'll never back down, because we are here to race.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
To get the most eyes on your vehicle, you need the best that the rest will see. At Lightning Wraps, you get the best at an affordable price compared to the rest. Be sure to check us out on Facebook for more information.
Good evening into the Lightning eSports Arca Series. Getting ready to go racing here at Homestead Miami Speedway. I'm Oscar Jensen and I'm here tonight and I will bring you this race as we are set to start off round number 2 in this championship hunt. Drivers just getting prepared to get grid. You know, it's going to be an interesting kind of deal here tonight. Obviously, you know, the first race in this to start off the second round of the playoffs, it's a little tedious for some of these drivers. Other drivers, it might not be so much of a worry. Last week's winner, Jeffrey Ledford, he's going to be coming from deep in the field, starting 12th here. And then our wild card winner, also Christian Shriver, he's going to be starting right behind him in 13th as well. So those two drivers going to have a little bit to work out through the start of this race. And I think there's going to be a lot for these drivers to bring, and there's going to be not a lot left on the table from some of these drivers. Like we saw last week, it was pretty much every driver just trying to get everything that they could, and we saw some incidents happen when that kind of initiated things, but it worked out in the end for the others. Some it didn't. Let's go ahead and go over our starting grid here. Michael Ware on row number 1. Then it'll be Robert Kahn to his outside. Luke DeShorens and Bud Shear will make up row number 2. Row number 3 will be Truth Hoke and Sean Burke. Row number 4 will be Barry Nelson and Chantel Patel. And row number 5 will have Rusty Jordan and Mike Rideout. Row number 6 we will have Kevin Baker and Jefford. Row number 7 we'll have Christian Shriver, Jason Henry. Then in row number 8 we'll have Owen Russell and Sebastian Chanel. And then rounding out the field in the final row will be Michael Chanel. "80 laps here tonight from Homestead Miami Speedway. Pace cars gonna pull off. Drivers getting situated. Crew chief, spotters trying to get these drivers prepared. We're off racing from Homestead Miami for race number 1 of round 2. See, drivers already utilizing that high side the best that they can. Some of these drivers all the way up there against the wall. Other drivers choosing to remain a little bit lower. 37 of Luke Descharnes, one of those drivers up against that wall. Then Mike Reynolds as well, and they're 3 wide for a moment coming off 4. That's Jason Henry in the middle. And Mike continuing to utilize his high side. He's going to be 3 wide once again. Jason Henry to his inside, trying to make it stick. And Mike is going to be able to get around those two. So now he's going to set his sights on the 0-5 in front. Or excuse me, the 0-1 in front. Bud Shear off at the point, continuing to lead off really where he's been all season, up at the front. Michael Ware directly behind him. And Jeffrey Ledford making quick work here early on. Started back in 12th position. He's already up to 4th place, and right now, I mean, he's looking really good. The only thing really that you don't want to have to do, and that you probably are going to worry about a little bit, is how much did he use up those tires trying to get around to end up to 4th position. You know, you don't really want to burn up those tires too early here in this run. It's a long race. You'll have to at least pit once. And although I see a lot of these guys running this higher lane early on, I'm not sure really what that does to your tires. I'd kind of assume that you'd probably be wanting to run a little bit lower to try and save some tire, but I'm not positive. As you see, Sean Burke sent it in and slides up in front of Michael Ware trying to take a look to the inside to get that spot back, but not going to make it work. So he's going to have to go back to work for the meantime. But, you know, I wonder if drivers are just up there trying to carry the momentum. And that's kind of what you see in real life as well. You see these Arca cars with the way that they're kind of set up and situated to be with their horsepower to your setups. You really are flat out a lot of the time, maybe just lifting a little bit. And really, you have to carry the momentum, and you can't really carry momentum if you're having to run a lower line. You have to ease off a little bit more. And right now, I mean, you kind of see that in effect with a lot of these guys running up against that third lane, even up against the wall. And you also got to be careful with that wall, because that wall will come out and grab you. And I apologize for the ticker there. A lot of these drivers are not supposed to be highlighted yellow. Unfortunately, not quite sure what happened there, but the names that are in yellow and not white are the playoff drivers. Barry Nelson here in the 28, situated behind the 55 of Truth Hoke. And Truth had he looked to be having a good week last week, and unfortunately got caught up in some stuff. Obviously, you know, you don't want to have that happen from inside the race car, but when you have weeks like that where you're able to build off momentum, even though it may not be the result that you want, it's always a plus. And as we start to wind down this season, I think this 55 is just going to continue to be more consistent and have more deserved finishes. Obviously, you know, like we said last week, wasn't the best week in terms of trying to get through wrecks, but looking strong here early on, running fourth currently, able to hold off Ledford here and Barry Nelson, who are side by side behind going into turns 3 and 4. And the 14 of Christian Shriver right here in the mess as well. And that 14 black and chrome Toyota Camry, he's looking strong there. Again, he started in 13th right behind Jeffrey Ledford, and those two drivers have worked themselves up through this pack of drivers and are currently situated right behind one another and made quick time. Again, we'll have to see how it sticks for these two drivers on the long run as they decide to make it 3 wide on Barry Nelson going into turns 1 and 2. Now Nelson gonna lose 2 spots heading into 1. Oh, a little bit of squirrely moment right there for Ledford and Shriver. That could have been a scary situation. Those two drivers able to hang on to it though, and well, that's just part of Homestead. I mean, this track is notorious as the 28 may have hit the wall coming off the exits here. It's a little bit sketchy. You're either going to be super loose or you're going to be super tight, and obviously when you're tight you're going to hit the wall, and when you're loose you're going to come off that wall a bit. So depending on how these drivers start to work their car and their tires in, you'll probably see a little bit of a difference between some of these drivers back here. Riding on board with Mike Rideout. He hasn't really gotten away from this high side at all this race. Currently in the 10th position. He's got a good run on the outside of Ledford. So now Ledford back to 10th position. He's been falling back these past few laps, and you wonder if he might have burned up those tires a little bit early on. The 05 Chantel is now going to his outside as well, so he's going to lose another position here. Meanwhile, up at the front, though, Bud Scher, Sean Burke, these two have pulled away from the rest of the field by just over a second and a half. And just look at the different lanes these guys are choosing. I mean, you have some guys in the middle, some guys on the top, some guys on the very bottom, and right now it seems like just nobody has really anywhere to go. Nobody can build that momentum that they need. There's been a few checkups that these drivers have had to do, which has really caused them to slow down a bit more than they probably would want. The 14 trying to slide up, not going to have enough room, as the 76 of Rideout is going to be to his outside, and that 76 is looking pretty good on that high side right now. He's going to get another run on the 14. Not sure if the 14 is going to be able to clear up. No, he won't. So Christian Schreiber trying to minimize positions lost, and so far hanging tight with the 76, but he's going to have to slot in line here if he wants to defend, and now he's going to finally get the chance to slide in front of the 05. See if he maybe tries and goes to work using that high side like a lot of these drivers have done so far this race. Boy, he is right up against that wall. I think he might have actually kissed it right there a bit. Didn't slow him down any at all, but definitely had that right side on that wall. And up at the front, we had a lead change here just a moment ago. Sean Burke getting around Bud Scher for the race lead. We'll go back and we'll take a look at it here. Sean Burke with a great run on the inside right there, and able to just slide up in front of that 93 of Bud Scher off of 2, and able to go back to work pretty easily right there and just kind of set sail. I mean, he hasn't really pulled away from Bud too crazy, but definitely pulled away just a bit. And you know, we kind of seen it week in, week out. Bud, when you get the chance to talk to him, he kind of thinks that he just had a lot of luck go his way so far this season. And you know, I maybe disagree a little bit. Even though there might be luck on his side, there is definitely a lot of talent in that 93 camp. And obviously with his lead change at about lap 20, nothing to, you know, hold your head down for. You know, you just got to be able to continue to maintain that gap from you to Sean Burke, and I think we'll definitely see Bud come alive here, or at least stay with him in this later run. Oh, a little bit of a wall tap right there for that 28 machine of Barry Nelson coming off at turn 2. Don't think there's any damage there, but have to be careful The 28 just going to let Mike ride out up high with the run. Not really going to contest that too much. And 76 still looking strong on this high side. I mean, you just ride on board with him, and you could just hear that throttle control and really making it look pretty simple. Not overdoing the throttle at all on entry, just kind of remaining steady. Robert Kahn, Luke DeShorens here going at it for third position. The 37 is going to get it. Robert Kahn might be under pressure now from Truth Hoke. And as I say that, Robert Kahn is actually going to come down pit road. And so is Bud Shear. So pit stops beginning here at lap 27. Sean Burke, you would think, would probably be responding here in this next lap or two. You wouldn't want to extend that wait out too long. We'll see if he decides to come down pit road this time by. But I'm sure that 94 crew is probably telling him to head down pit road, and I'd be very surprised if he stays out. And it looks like he will be making his way down pit road. So the 94, the 37, the 55, the top four are actually making their way down pit road. You got to be careful here on this pit road. It's not the trickiest thing to get on, but you definitely got to be cautious that you don't overshoot. So Sean Burke going to come into his box. He'll get his tires and fuel. You see the guys that were coming out of pit road right there. Robert Kahn, one of the first to get on pit road. He's not going to be able to carry that momentum and get around Sean Burke. But Sean Burke did lose the top spot to Bud Shear, who has gotten out by just over a second and a half. So Sean's going to have a little bit more work to do after coming out of pit road here. And we can look at that pit stop time here. And even though Sean Burke was a little bit quicker on through his pit stop, I don't think he was able to get on and off of pit road as quick as Bud was. Bud, I mean, has absolutely been hands down one of the best when it comes to green flag pit stops, and you see it here again. He's able to get the top spot back and has put a little bit of a gap between him and second place, Sean Burke. Robert Kahn taking a look to the inside here. Down the back straightaway, not able to make it stick as Sean Burke's going to have that run off the top lane. Burke's going to try and build that momentum back up on the high side as he tries and defend against his 21 of Robert Kahn. Meanwhile, a little bit further back for 8th place, that's Luke DeShorens and Barry Nelson going at it here. They've been going at it the past couple of laps. They've really been able to remain at least side by side with the majority of these laps. Nelson hasn't really been able to get that run on the bottom and slide up. We'll see what he does here down this back straightaway. Not going to have enough momentum, so he's going to try and go back to work in 3 and 4 and utilize that lower lane, see if he can maybe build a run up here. But I don't think he's going to have enough momentum as the 37 of Luke's going to just continue to build that high side run and able to defend him off once again. And same thing's happening here with Sean Burke and Robert Kahn. I mean, that higher side just has so much momentum and speed that inside car, even though he's able to kind of stay with them from entry to middle, you can just see that straightaway speed carry off of the exit, and just like that, you know, it's so frustrating trying to remain calm. You be a little bit quicker than the guy in front of you, and he might just have that preferred lane, but you gotta be able to remain calm, and you don't want to be over aggressive. You just really, what you're trying to do is just force that guy up high to make a mistake, and eventually, if he does make a mistake, it's more than likely going to work out in your favor. I know it's happened to me a time or two before, you know, when you're in that situation and you know you might be a little bit quicker than the guy in front of you. It's very hard to be patient, and it's very hard to kind of not overstep your boundaries, not burn up your tires trying to get around them. And you really just got to be patient. You got to let the race come to you, especially if you're one of these championship drivers with the yellow highlighted name. All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick break right here. You guys are not going to miss a thing, though. Once again, tuning in for the Lightning eSports Arca Series from Homestead Miami Speedway. We'll be right back.
From humble beginnings to raising the future, achieving success along the way. We'll never back down, because we are here to race.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
To get the most eyes on your vehicle, you need the best that the rest will see. At Lightning Wraps, you get the best at an affordable price compared to the rest. Be sure to check us out on Facebook for more information.
And my apologies there, folks. My mic was not there. Not quite sure how much talking I did. So, obviously, just over halfway, Sean and Robert Kahn able to chase down Bud Scheer, and Sean is probably one of the favorites right now to win this race. Obviously, this 94 has carried a lot of speed on these longer green flag runs, and you know, even though Bud is able to hang right with them, Robert Kahn as well, I think Sean is definitely saving a little bit. I mean, you can kind of hear, I'm not sure which one of these drivers it actually is. One of these drivers is coasting a bit into the corners. It might be all three, actually. But I definitely think Sean could probably be pushing a little bit more and still save some sort of fuel or tire, whatever he needs, and put a little bit more distance. Right now, he's just maintaining that pace perfectly and doing exactly what he needs to do out front as Bud Scheer putting the pressure on. He was laying back a little bit, and now he's sucked back up to the back bumper of this 94, trying to force that 94 to maybe use a little bit more fuel than he has to do. And again, I apologize that a lot of these drivers have a yellow highlighted bar around them. But if you're trying to decipher who's in the playoffs and who's not, look for the yellow highlighted names. The yellow highlighted names are the drivers who are currently in the playoffs. The drivers who do not have a yellow highlighted name are obviously not in the playoffs. Our two drivers that we mentioned on early in this race who look to have been starting pretty decent would be, the first guy is Christian Shriver here in this 14 machine. He's currently back in 13th. And then our next driver that we talked about is actually directly in front of him again. So Jeffrey Ledford here in the 01 machine. And honestly, it looked like at the start of that race that they were doing pretty decent. And now they've fallen back to where they really exactly where they started. So I'm not quite sure if they might have, you know, like we talked about, used up a little bit too early and didn't have enough for that longer run, or if maybe this is just by design plan. But either way, they're about 13 seconds behind the race leader of Sean Burke. So Ledford, last week's winner, Christian Shriver, the wild card to get into this round, still have a bit to go in this race and can make up some positions, but they're going to need to figure it out, and figure it out soon, because these laps are going to continue to wind down pretty quick. Bud Scheer using that high side off of 4. He's going to get to the outside of Sean Burke. They'll be side by side entering turn 1 and 2. Sean's going to slide up in front of that 93 machine off exit. Throw the block, try and take some of that clean air away. Robert Kahn on the bottom, just trying to get a little bit of a wall tap there from the 94, and that's going to open up the door for Sean Burke, or Robert Kahn and Bud Scheer, excuse me, to get a run. And right as we were riding on board, those drivers going to come down pit road. They're side-by-side racing on the pit road. You don't want to speed here. No mistakes at this point. This is going to be the final stretch till they get this race finished, and any mistake here would be the end of your race, and if not, maybe a deep hole for this playoff. Truth Hoax is going to cycle around to the race lead. Ledford going to fall into second. Robert Kahn still, I mean, he's out here, but he scored in third. As now these guys are going to race off pit road, and Bud Shearer once again with the advantage off at pit road. An amazing pit stop once again from that 93 team. Sean Burke, Robert Kahn directly in tow, though. The 14 of Christian Shriver out here, a lap down. So he's going to force these guys to work around him. As he, oh, big moment right there to slide up in front of the 94. That was scary. Obviously, the 14 is going to try and stay within these guys to get at least a lap, his one lap back. And you don't want to fall too far back. If these guys do start to lap more of the field, the next driver would be Michael Chanel, who would be in that position to go a lap down, but he's a bit ahead of these drivers. So Christian Shriver took a look to the inside, thought better of it. Now he's going to try and go to work once again on the bottom. You also got to be pretty respectful of these guys. You know, you're going to want to try and get your lap back as quick as you can, and you don't want to lose any more position, but you got to realize that these guys are racing for the race lead, and obviously you don't want to have to slow up or give any positions up for that, but you also got to be mindful. And right now, the 14 doing just that, even though we had a little bit of a scary moment right there a lap or two ago. Now Robert Kahn's going to look to the inside of the 14, and we'll see with 22 laps to go what Sean Burke can do here. He's a lot closer than he was that last green flag run. And if it's anything like it's been all night, he should be able to close that gap down on this longer run. It's about 10 to 13, 14 laps, I'd say, is when Sean Burke really comes alive. $20 laps to go, coming on this time by to 19 laps to go. This race has gone by pretty quickly, no cautions so far. Robert Kahn hanging in there with third position, trying to make that bottom lane work. And this track is known for great finishes, and I think we're in for a great finish here tonight, as that 21 still trying to use that bottom lane. Not able to get that run off, though. That's going to allowing the 94 to have a little bit more breathing room and try and close down that gap on Bud Shear, who may have hit the wall just a bit right there through 1 and 2. And that's Michael Chanel right there in the 97, who is now going to go 1 lap down. And that's going to be a thing for Kyver here, who's 1 lap. I think he'll be able to get around that 97 of Michael Chanel, but you're going to want to do it fairly quickly in case there was any caution. You'd be the first car a lap down and in that lucky dog position. Now the 14 going to get around that 97, so the 14 is going to be the first car a lap down once again. And Bud Shear using all that racetrack right up against that outside wall. Might have kissed it again with the rear end. $15 laps to go this time by for the field. Sean Burke should be starting to come alive here in just a few laps, if it's been anything like it has tonight. Right now, these drivers using all the racetrack. You see how close Bud was to that outside wall. Sean Burke able to use that inside lane, not able to get the run, stuck though. So now Sean's going to have to go back to work. Using a little bit lower line. Oh, Bud hit the wall just a bit there again. Didn't lose a whole lot of momentum right there. So Bud able to maintain. Got to minimize those mistakes though, because any harder and you'll be stuck up in that wall, and you don't want that to happen, because then that would absolutely kill that race lead that you have. And with 14 coming to 13 laps to go, I mean, these top 3 drivers being all under half a second, there's really nothing left out on the table I'd be expecting from these guys. Your crew chief, your spotter are probably telling you to go get them. Use all the track that you need. Use all of the race car that you can. Because at this point, from here on out, I mean, it's pretty much going to be decided right here under green flag conditions between who the best driver is. Robert Kahn has lost a little bit of time to those two in front of him. Not a whole lot of time, but you see him use a little bit different of a line than those two in front of him, utilizing that lower lane. Not able to get the run off like those two in front of him are, but if those two start racing in front of him, you know, it's definitely going to open up the door, as Sean Burke's going to dive to the inside of Bud Shear off of turn 4. They're going to hold even down the front straightaway, side by side, going into turns 1 and 2. What will Sean Burke be able to do? We've seen this 94 been able to set it in pretty aggressively and make it stick. But will Bud be able to hold him off? Yes, he will that time. Now Sean Burke trying to use that outside lane, trying to get some clean air on that front nose to get it to turn. But just trying to take all the clean air away that 94 is getting. The 21 of Robert Kahn has moved up now as well, just a bit. Right there in 1 and 2, he used that high side. Now he went back down to the bottom, so announcer's jinx, I should say. as the 94 trying to get another good run to the inside, not able to make it work with just under 10 laps to go. Now, the last thing you'd want to see if you're Sean Burke is a caution. You're really good on these long runs. I mean, you have a little bit of short run speed as well, but you really come to life on these long runs, and he's just slowly trying to work his way around Bud. He's been picking off these lap times. He's been able to remain pretty much even and put a little bit more pressure on Bud for the top spot. Hasn't been able to close out the deal, but he's been able to remain right there in tow. Now, once again, diving into that middle lane where he's been able to make it stick a lot better than some of these other drivers. Bud with the run off down the back straightaway. And really all Sean needs to do is just stay within about a car length, maybe even just under a car length, to even have a shot at Bud Shear for the race win. You don't want to lose much more time like you did right there through 3 and 4. You heard him had to lift off the throttle right there through the center just a bit to get it to rotate. And that's a lot of the dirty air coming from that 93. You see him running a half a lane lower, just trying to get any clean air on that nose. Oh, Bud's right up against that wall. Five laps to go this time by. These two leaders right here in tow with one another. Bud using all that racetrack. You see the sparks fly off that right rear as he's right up against that outside wall. Does Burke have anything left in that machine? He's been trying to make it stick. The laps though, 4 laps to go that time by. That was a good entry for that 94 in 1 and 2 right there. See if he can maintain it down this back straightaway. He's really been pretty even, if not a little bit quicker in 1 and 2. It's kind of 3 and 4 that he seems to be struggling just a bit more than Bud. And right there, able to send it in pretty deep, and it stuck fairly good right there. He's going to be able to close that gap down just a little bit more with 3 laps to go. He's going to dive to the inside once again, trying to experiment to see if that inside lane will work. Not able to remain side by side. He's going to have to slot back up behind this 93 and go back to work. Sean just trying to use anything that he can, trying to get any run that he can possibly get. Not quite there yet again. 2 laps to go. These guys are giving it them all. Robert Kahn falling back, not a factor, just between these two, the 93 and the 94. We're going to see the white flag this time by for Bud Shear. Can Bud Shear hang on to it? Sean Burke has one final lap to try and make something out of this race. See if he goes back to the high side where he's been good so far. Not able to close that gap down any bit through 1 and 2 that time by. He's going to have one last shot, but trying to break the draft there on down the back straightaway. I think that 94 might be a little too far back to make it stick. And coming off at turn number 4, the 94 giving it his all, but Bud Shear at the start-finish line is going to win at Homestead Miami Speedway. A great job at being able to hold off that 94 of Sean Burke at the very end. And Bud Shear seeing victory lane, which has been a so familiar place this season so far for him in that 93 team. And I'll be able to hear from our race winner, Bud Shear. Bud Shear, congratulations on the race win. Once again, you've managed to come back into victory lane, able to hang off that hard-charging Sean Burke at the very end. Really, I mean, it looked like it was a pretty calm race for you and that 93 team. Tell me a little bit about your race and how it felt from your perspective.
I couldn't keep gas on the damn thing. Ran out coming out of 4, coming to the line there. And I don't know how close that was, but I thought Sean had it there because we were out. I only had like 24 laps of gas or run, and so I had to save like 3 or 4 laps each run, which was miserable when you're running in the front. You don't you just want to walk away. That option wasn't there. I mean, I could have, but I would have had to pit again I should have pit with 7 to go when we were done that first run. That's what we were on track for. So luckily we were able to save gas every run and just managed to hold Sean back. Every time he'd get beside me, I'd have to stop saving and get back in front and then go back to saving again. So yeah, it's a different kind of racing. We definitely weren't the fastest car, but in fuel mileage and whatever we were doing there tonight, it worked.
Well, and you make a good point from that. You and this 93 team have been an outstanding job. I mean, you guys have been absolutely perfect, almost perfect on and off the pit road all season long, and being able to come off the pit road with the race lead. I know it's a little bit harder when you're so good coming on and off the pit road, and you got to save fuel. Then you're like, you see that clean air in front of you, and the rest of the guys behind you. Then you kind of got to, you don't want to give up that race lead, but you also got to realize that you got to save fuel. And I know from this season so far, I mean, it seems like really nothing has been able to keep you out of victory lane. Not fuel, not any tire strategies, not any wrecking, not any wrecks. You've been able to avoid pretty much every single thing out on track, and obviously you're going to be situated pretty good for this first round, and we'll be seeing you here in this final round in just a few races. But going on to next week, I mean, I don't really think there's really any more check boxes besides maybe the championship that you probably like to check off. Obviously, you want to check off every race win that you possibly can. So with going into Phoenix Raceway, what does that look like for you?
Well, it's been hit and miss. I would say out of every race we've had this year, in all honesty, only one of them I feel like I was the best car pretty well every lap of the run if I wanted to be, and should have won it, and that was last week. All these other ones, I couldn't be laughing any harder, but the luck it's taken to get 5 wins on tracks I had no business. Myrtle Beach, maybe I'll give it 4 of these 5. Like, I had no place to win, and just, I don't know, you stretch fuel, stay it on tires, and just make it work. But going into next week, I mean, I don't know, Phoenix was hit and miss for me. I've shown up there and been a tenth and a half faster than the field, and I've also shown up there and been 3/10 off 20th place. So I don't really know what to expect going there. I'd like a relaxing race. I'd love to see Sean win. But yeah, kind of looking forward for Michigan in 2 weeks. We finished at Michigan in this car last year, the season there. I just happened to win that race, so that's what we'll be looking forward to, I think, is Michigan, and see if we can't finally on our 4 here finish this out. We've never been in the Final Four. Something always happens, and I'm not eligible to be in the Final Four, so yeah, see what happens this year. Still another week to go before that happens, but hope we're there.
Alrighty, bud. Well, it sounds like you got this whole season from here on out pretty situated and pretty tamed. I can't wait to see what you're able to do in these next final 2 races, and hopefully get that shot that at the championship like you deserve without any issues. Before I let you go, is there any sponsors you'd like to thank or any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Give a big thanks for you putting on this broadcast every week, and everybody here at Lightning Esports for giving us somewhere to race, but more particularly every driver that shows up. You don't have a league without them. These guys are a blast to race with. That's why we're here every week. RBS Racing with Sean Burke, and give a big thanks to Goat Racing Diecast and Customs. And yeah, come back out next week and see what we got going on.
Alrighty, bud. Thank you again for taking a minute to speak with us, and hopefully be able to speak with you again next week.
Thank you, Kylie. You have a good one.
That was your race winner, Bud Sharon. 5 wins on the season. You know, that's pretty remarkable, and pretty just goes to show how dominating this 93 team and Bud have been this season so far. And you know, he said it right there. You know, he said some weeks he's off, some weeks he doesn't think he's the best car, but time and time again he continues to find a way to put himself in victory lane, and that's really what makes a champion a champion, is being consistent and being able to figure out what you need to do to, even if you don't have the speed, to capitalize on the best finish that you possibly can, and Bud doing exactly just that here tonight. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stand by here with second place of Sean Burke. Sean Burke finishing out in second place. Obviously, not the result that you wanted. You're so close right there at the very end, but with all the fuel and all the strategy that you had to do tonight, what maybe did you need to do a little bit differently to be able to get around Bud there at the very end?
I don't think I could have done anything personally. It clearly was Goodyear's fault with these tires. They were just wearing off at the end there. I sent it in a little too hard, couldn't pass them. But it was a good run by the number 93. Obviously, RBS Racing, great run. I think, the number 94 Jurassic World Rebirth with the Distortus Rex on the side. This Toyota was fast today. Really gave me a quick hot rod here out of Castle Rock, Colorado. So yeah, I think, I just ran it clean today. Had some good throttle control, saved some gas in the first half here. Some clutching that happened around the, couple of times as we're going through the track there. But yeah, I'm not sure I could have done much different. Maybe not send it in too hard there in turn 4 against my teammate Bud, but it was good race. We're on Phoenix.
Yeah, and going on to Phoenix, I mean, you're sitting pretty decent. I think you're sitting, if I look at this correctly, you're sitting second now in the playoff points. And, obviously, with building off momentum from this week, you obviously want to continue the stride off that second place, if not a win. But really, what does Phoenix look like for you? And is that one of the better tracks for you, or do you think you might have to work on a few things here in this next upcoming week?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to work. It's one of my worst tracks, to be honest. So I'm just going to go out there, try to run clean and transfer to the Championship 4. I think this P2, I was really hoping to get that P1 here just to lock it in. But P2 is pretty good, obviously. So we'll take it. We'll just have to run clean and hopefully, transfer to that Championship 4.
And obviously, Championship 4 being the bigger here. And that's another question I want to ask you real quick is when you're obviously you're teammates with Bud, and when you're trying to race for a Championship 4 spot, how different is it, knowing that you don't want to wreck a teammate, you don't want to, that would be the worst case scenario is take yourselves both out the championship. But, is there a certain, like, all right, I have to maybe be a little bit more aggressive even though I don't want to, just trying to get that spot into the final 4?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think he and I mean, this race, we were trying to race pretty hard there, last 10 laps especially. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we are teammates, but there can only be one champion. So I got to put this, I got to do what's right for the sponsors here, my car owner, Jackson, and, the Jurassic World Rebirth. You can catch it on Netflix. I think this is the second month only that has been showing on Netflix. Don't miss it. It's one of the worst Jurassic Worlds that's out there, but it's it's on my car. So let's get it going.
All right, I like the sound. I'll definitely make sure to check that out myself. And obviously, this is going to kind of move into the next thing, but is there any other sponsor or, any last shout-outs you'd like to give before I let you go here?
I just got to say, sorry about that good year. I love your tires. Don't sue me. Jurassic World, it's not too bad. Get out there, watch it on Netflix. And, of course, my car owner, Jackson James, has a really nice garage here in Castle Rock, Colorado. We're going to bring it home, see what we can do in terms of a setup, headed into Phoenix. All right, and of course, I got to say thank you, as usual, for the broadcast. It's always fun to watch. So thanks for doing it.
All right, Sean. Thank you for taking a minute to speak with us here. And hopefully we'll be able to speak with you next week and see you in the round of 4 here.
Let's do it. Bring the champagne. We're going to the Championship 4. I'm calling it now.
All righty. All right, folks. You heard that. Make your bets now. That was Sean Burr. Obviously, he sounds fairly confident that he'll be able to get into the round of 4. And, I'm not going to diss that at all. I think he definitely, besides Bud, is probably going to be one of those 4 drivers that makes it into the Championship 4 I guess Championship 5 if it's the wild card, but one of those 4 that's going to be able to get in on points. And I think, if anything, I say a lot of these guys, but these 2 drivers, Sean Burke and Butch here, always seem to talk themselves a little bit more than they probably can have a little bit more something. So we'll see what they said is true the next week, or if maybe they have a little some sort of something up their sleeve to capitalize off on another win for that team. Obviously teammates together, but still competing for the championship individually. So can't wait to see what those guys can do at Phoenix. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at our race results here. Obviously, Bud Shearer with the race win. Sean Burke, we just spoke to. Robert Kahn finishing 3rd. That's last season's champion. Obviously, not in the championship hunt this season, or at least in this round so far. Then we go to Mike Rideout, Truth Hoke. Those are your top 5 drivers. Then we head down to Luke Deschorens, Barry Nelson, Chantel Patel, Oren Russell, Jeffrey Ledford, and then Rusty Jordan, Kristen Shriver, Jason Henry and Michael Chanel. Obviously, Michael Chanel not having that night that he would probably need or want there in that 97 machine, and I believe he's gonna be, I have to look here quick, but I believe he's gonna be the last playoff driver in the field. So obviously not the night that he wanted, finishing 2 laps down. And then we head on to Michael Ware, Sebastian Chanel, and Kevin Baker, who will round out the field of that 17 driver field. So some of these drivers with good nights, some of these other drivers not so much with the nights that they probably need or want to have happen. Obviously, every point counts at this point in this stage in the season, and going on to Phoenix next week, you don't want to have to come from a disadvantage or a big hole that you have to dig yourself out of, and some of these drivers definitely going to have that to do next week. I don't see any other drivers in this waiting room, so we're going to go ahead and cap this thing off, and we will see you guys at next week from Phoenix Raceway. And obviously, once again, Bud not able to do the burnout here at the end, really, but still, we were able to get to speak with him and hear the emotions from him and this win as he tries and go on to a championship. Once again, I'm Oscar Jensen here from Turn Sector Media. You guys have been watching the Lightning eSports Arca Series from Homestead Miami Speedway, and we will see you guys next week from Phoenix Raceway for round 2, race number 2, which will then be deciding our final championship 5 drivers.
From humble beginnings to raising the future, achieving success along the way. We'll never back down, because we are here to race.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
To get the most eyes on your vehicle, you need the best that the rest will see. At Lightning Wraps, you get the best at an affordable price compared to the rest. Be sure to check us out on Facebook for more information.